Wet weather riding hints and tips. So we're on our way to work this morning, and overnight we've had quite a downpour. Still a bit drizzly now. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to do a little bit about riding in the wet. For most of you, you probably never ride in the wet. You may only use your bike in lovely crisp conditions, whereas for others, motorcycle might be your only means of transportation and you ride in the wet all the time, and everything I'm about to say, you already know it. And for others, you may be a fair weather rider but get caught out one day in the wet. So number one, what do we need to consider? First of all, obviously we start with the bike. Should always make sure your bike's well maintained anyway, but in the wet you want to pay particular attention to your chain. Is it well lubed? Brakes, are they in good condition? Lots of life left on your pads. But most importantly is your tyres. Do you have a good tread pattern on your tyres? Because if you don't, they're not going to disperse the water. You'll be slipping and sliding all over the place. Secondly, if you can, obviously, you might get caught out in the rain one day when you're out in your leathers, or as a lot of people doing nowadays, in your shorts and sandals. But where possible, if you know you're going out and it's going to rain, or if you're going on a long trip there's a high chance of rain, make sure you've got the right kit with you. So appropriate gloves, waterproofs if possible. Nothing worse than trying to control a bike and pay attention to what you're doing if you're cold and wet and all you can think of is how bad you feel. Nothing worse than cold wet hands and you can't feel what the brake's doing, the clutch is doing. Your cold wet feet, you can't feel the rear brake and the gears. Really, really horrible sensations. So helmet and visor. I tend to shut my vents. Certainly most helmets nowadays have got vents on the top. I tend to shut the one on top because I don't want water getting in and making the top of my head wet. The one, the mouthpiece vent, I generally leave that open because you do want a bit of a breeze blowing up onto your visor, because it will hopefully help it stop steaming up. Now I wear a touring helmet which comes with a visor insert or pin lock system, which again, it's like double glazing, stops your visor steaming up. If you don't have that system, there's loads of tips and tricks out there that you can probably look at on social media to help stop your visor steaming up. But if you don't have any of those, just crack your visor open just a little bit, a couple of millimeters at the bottom, just to get some airflow will help. Because you will find when you're sat on a wet bike with that hot engine, all that steam's going to come straight up into your visor, and obviously if you can't see where you're going, that's not a great position to be in. If you're going to be riding a lot in the wet conditions or in the winter, it does pay to wear your winter kit. Me today, we're in the middle of summer, and although I know the ride home is going to be perfectly dry, sunny and 21-22 degrees, I knew I was coming out into this morning, so I've put my full winter kit on. Not put the thermals on because it's still quite warm, but the winter kits, I've got adequate waterproofing. So it just makes sense to, where possible, buy the right kit dress for the occasion. So conditions, what do you need to look out for on the actual road itself? There's quite a few things to consider actually. There's quite a lot to think about when you're talking about this subject. So recently we've been going through quite a dry spell in the UK. So the past 3 months we've probably only seen 4 days of rain, which is really unusual for us. And what you need to consider is when you have long dry periods, all the greases and the oils that settle on the road from other cars, from just nature itself, they all sink into the road when it's nice and dry. So the first time you get rain, what that does is all those greases and oils, they raise up to the surface and it becomes very, very slippery. So just bear in mind that if you are going out and you know there's going to be rain, or if you get caught out in the rain and you've gone through a particularly long dry period, just be extra careful because it can get very, very greasy. If you've had enough rain to wash it away, it's not as bad. Puddles are a big thing. So when you see a puddle on the road, how deep is it? The reality is you just don't know. You do not know until you've hit it. And recently, last year, I was actually thrown off this bike because a oncoming vehicle down a narrow back lane forced me to go over into a puddle. I was only doing about 10 miles an hour when I fell out, but I didn't realise the puddle, when I measured it, was 9 inches deep. It was a tremendous pothole, and it actually threw me off the bike. Even at 10 miles an hour, it threw me off the bike. So always be mindful of puddles. You just don't know how deep it is until you're in it. Painted lines are a big thing. Painting itself on the roads is fine in the dry, not a problem at all, but the moment they get wet they become very, very slippery. So the arrows that we just saw on the road there, the Suzuki Swift there that wasn't paying attention, you just need to be extra careful. Painted lines, white lines, double yellow lines, giveaway signs, the big arrows, just be mindful of them, they are very slippery. Metal drain covers, again, they are lethal in the wet. They are like riding on ice. So always try to avoid metal drain covers as soon as it's wet. They're not so bad in the dry, but in the wet, absolutely lethal. They literally are like riding over ice. Distance then. Keep your distance from vehicles in front. Just hold back a little bit. Give yourself that extra time for braking. Our contact patches on bikes is not as good as cars. A car will stop faster than a bike, and in wet conditions, even if like this your bike has got ABS, it just pays to give yourself that little bit more distance from the car in front. It also helps as well at higher speeds. If you're following the car in front and it's wet roads, they're going to give off spray. That spray is going to go all over you, it's going to go all over your visor, it's going to throw the dirt up, it's going to make your visor dirty, it's going to make looking where you're going very, very difficult. So always sit back. So finally, we can look at some riding techniques. Now, in general, winter riding or wet weather riding, very similar to your dry weather riding, but just give yourself extra of everything. So give yourself extra space, extra time, extra distance, because that's what's going to make you safe. Use your back brake a little bit more in the winter, use your back brake a bit more in the wet. It just stabilises the bike. When you're coming into corners, brake a bit earlier, use a bit less speed, use a little bit less lean angle. So if you just take your time, just relax into it, you can actually find that riding in the wet is quite a rewarding experience, because you feel closer to the bike, you feel more connected to what the machine's actually doing. It is actually quite rewarding to get out on the bike in the wet and feel how it feels and behaves in those conditions, using your brakes more, using your gears a bit more to slow down. Actually very good. Anyway, that's my take on anyway, that's my take on wet weather riding. Hopefully you found it enjoyable, educational. As always, drop a like and subscribe, guys. Really appreciate it. It'll help build my channel, it'll help me create content. And comment down below if there's anything in particular you'd like to see. Thanks guys, have a great day everyone.